What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Have at It. Actually, it's Have at It and Let's Buck with Ben Remix. Yeah, that's right. Have at It and Let's Buck with Ben. Two shows in one tonight. And the reason for that, well, because, ladies and gentlemen, the Buccaneers, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are opening their season tonight. Well, it's preseason, but this is the first Bucks game we've seen since January. So why not? Why not? We just blend it all together and put it on one show here tonight, here on Have at It. So yeah, let's get right to it. My name is Ben Cornett, and as you know, if you can follow me on, well, it's now called X. Used to be Twitter. I am at BennyBoy702. Also above me as well on the social media handles. I'm on YouTube. You can watch this show on YouTube at Ben Cornett 9015 on my channel, and in the Ben Zone Facebook group. And if you're not a part of the Ben Zone on Facebook, and if you're a friend of mine, then it'll be on my own page. So, with that being said, let's talk about it, man. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers opened their season up tonight, even though it's preseason. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, a bunch of starters did not play. You know, Evans, Godwin, Tristan Wirfs, Devin White, Levante David, um, Antoine Winfield, Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Rashad White. All those guys did not play tonight, obviously, and I don't think that's really any surprise considering that this is just the first preseason game. Um, you know, you know who's going to be starting, so it's not about who's going to get some starting spots. So I would say 90% of the starting spots have been already marked down and ready to go. So this is more about the second stringers, the rookies, getting a little taste of the NFL game. This is their first game. Guys uh, like a Sean Tucker, um, and some others. Yaya Diaby. Guys, this is their very first NFL game. So they are going to play. Obviously, Kalijah Cansey's injured right now, so he's not available for the preseason, with the ankle injury, but he should be back. I'm sorry, the calf injury. He should be back. They're saying hopefully by week one. So, yeah, this is going to be it was an interesting game tonight, as far as the actual game. Again, I'm not going to put any, too much emphasis on preseason. Again, this is just to see the rookies get a chance to play, the Yaya Diabys, the Savasier Dennis's play, the Cody Mock, those guys, and some, guys that are trying to make the team, the Devin Tompkins, the Geigers, all those guys trying to make that team, trying to make this team, the Payne Durhams, guys like that. And tonight we saw some good stuff. I thought guys like Cam Gill and KJ Britt, both their linebackers, they looked pretty good. They looked pretty good. I was very impressed, defensively for those guys. Logan Hall did okay. Zion McCollum, he struggled. I thought, in the first couple defensive series, but then he had a big interception in the second quarter with 5 minutes to go. He had a big interception there, and the rest of the game that he was in there, the rest of the time he was in there, he actually played pretty good. So, yeah, here's a guy that kind of struggled last year. Didn't really play well for a rookie. You didn't really get to see the field much either because of that. So, this is his chance to really try to make a name here, try to see if he can, get some playing time for the Bucks this year, right behind, guys like Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield, guys like that. And McCollum with the interception is going to be, that's going to be huge, for him. That's a good sign, it'll show you that, he can get some more playing time. So that was impressive. And The running game, they started out with Keyshawn Vaughn. He had a couple decent runs, but wasn't anything spectacular that he did tonight. I thought Chase Edmonds ran the ball pretty good. He's a free agent out of Miami. Um, Also, Sean Tucker got some playing time. From what I saw, he had some decent runs. You know, Nothing spectacular, but again, we got to keep in mind this is Sean Tucker's first game um, playing the NFL game, so I'm not going to say he was good or bad. He just has some more work to do, and the kid's shown a lot of promise. He's had a good training camp, but as we all know, training camp doesn't always translate to the actual game into the NFL field. So we just need to see more of Sean Tucker. There's two more preseason games, so we'll see what happens. I mean, right now we know Rachaad White's the number one um, on the depth chart as far as the running back. Guys like Keyshawn Vaughn, Chase Edmonds, even Sean Tucker, they're probably fighting for that number two running back position. I think tonight you got to say, if you're going to give an edge to anybody, maybe Chase Edmonds, I would say, would have a slight edge, but I still think this is wide open. So I feel like next week's going to give us a little bit more observation of these three guys, and you're probably going to see Rachaad White as well. So I expect next week the starters to play a significant amount, and we're going to be playing the Jets next week, next Saturday night in New York. Good old Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and they'll have some scrimmages before that game, a couple of them. So, and the other thing is, real quick, Jets are on Hard Knocks this year, so that means we might see a little bit of Tampa Bay Buccaneer coverage on Hard Knocks. I know some people don't like having their teams on Hard Knocks and stuff like that, but still, the Bucs might get a little bit of a camera time on Max. So, yeah, with scrimmaging with the Jets and then playing their second preseason game. So, I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, back to tonight's game. The big talk around Bucs fans and Bucs circles is the quarterback competition, or as I like to call it, the quarterback competition with parentheses in it. Yeah, so why don't we just get into it? Baker Mayfield started. I thought he did pretty good. Look, Baker Mayfield's got the experience. The first series they ran the ball 3 straight times, and then they were going to go for it on fourth down, like a 4th and 1, but then they got a false start penalty, backed them up, so they scrapped that, punted. But I believe it was on the second or third possession, Baker Mayfield threw a touchdown to Trey Palmer in the end zone. It's a nice throw too, and Palmer made a great catch, kept his feet in bounds. So there's some good things about Baker Mayfield. He will make those good plays on the run, throwing the football. He's got that athleticism and that arm to make those kind of plays. And so you saw some of that good stuff. Then you bring in Kyle Trask. Now we got to remind ourselves that, again, it's preseason. Coming in, they said Kyle Trask, had he was pushing Mayfield. Obviously, Baker had like more interceptions than Trask in training camp. Like Mayfield had like 9 of them. Trask had like 4 or 5. But again, that doesn't always translate to the field. Kyle Trask, why he had some good throws tonight, made a couple of good throws here and there, but he had an interception. And when you see the interception, he was staring down his receiver. we all know Baker was good. To me, this is really not a competent. Baker's going to start. But here's the thing. If this was really a competition, then Mayfield, won tonight, okay, where Kyle Trask kind of lost ground. But next week, Kyle Trask will start. He is going to start next week. So we're going to really see how Kyle does, especially if guys like, and I assume they're probably going to start guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Rashad White, Kate Otten. So we're gonna really find out what Kyle Trask can do, if he can handle it, against, and the Jets are going to have probably their starters, because usually now with three preseason games, in this case for the Jets, this would only be their second. It would actually be their third, because they played the Hall of Fame game. They are going to probably play their starters, defensive starters as well, at least for maybe a quarter and a half. So with Trask starting now, he's not going to go up against second and third string defensive players from the Steelers here. He's going to face a lot of first string defensive ends, defensive tackles. They're going to apply more pressure on the offensive line, which tonight with the offensive line was, for the first game, again, not to, poke holes here. Excuse me. You didn't have Tristan Wirfs. And the guy that's going to replace Wirfs at that right tackle spot, Luke Goedeke, did not play his best. He struggled a little bit. Again, this was against second-string guys with the Steelers. Ryan Jensen didn't start either. Robert Hainsey was the starting center tonight. He struggled some. So after, even though it's one game, you still gotta. I still have a little bit of concern here with the offensive line. Is Goedeke going to be that good replacement for Tristan Wirfs? Now, it's hard to replace a guy like Tristan Wirfs at right tackle. Let's face it. Wirfs in his 2 years, his 3 years with the team. Man, you can't replace a guy like Wirfs on that right tackle. He did so well there. And, now you're asking a guy like, Luke Goedeke, who, he's solid at best. It's tough. It's very tough. But there are concerns, again, especially with, a guy like, Dave Canales, the new offensive coordinator. And you saw a lot of, running the football. Canales, we knew this was going to be a different kind of offense because Canales ran the football, quite a bit with the Seattle Seahawks when he was their offensive coordinator. So, now you're seeing that with Tampa. Again, we can't get too critical because it was the first week, a lot of backups and stuff. But going forward, guys like Goedeke are going to have to play well next week. He's going to have to improve. He's going to have to get better. And, because now you're going to go up against, like I said, like what I was saying about Trask, you're going to face more defensive, first string defensive starters, for the Jets. So it's going to be a lot more pressure. And, tonight Baker handled it pretty well. Again, the experience is there. He knows he's been in these games. He's experienced. He's played with 3 different teams. And this offense really kind of fits Baker like a glove. A lot of rollouts. A guy he couldn't be more different than Tom Brady, okay? But in a way, it's kind of exciting. And I've been on record to say I'm not the biggest Baker fan, but it is nice to see a different type of offense being run here. Now we got to see guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Kate Otten, Russell Gage. Let's see how good they do in this offense. I expect them to do pretty well because, guys like Evans and Godwin are probably the best 1-2 punch in the NFL from a wide receiver standpoint. Kate Otton's a good tight end, guy that can run his routes well. He can block as well. So, it's going to be interesting. And Russell Gage, you know, I know he struggled a little bit last year, but hopefully he can bounce back this year. They did re-sign him, so we'll see what he can do there, and see how this offense, clicks. Now that you're going to have the majority of the starters play next week, more than likely. They haven't put it out there yet with the who's going to play or who isn't, but I do expect Wirfs to play next week too. This will be his first NFL game playing left tackle, so I'm very excited and curious to see how Tristan Wirfs does at that the left tackle spot. So, and that's the other key this year. That's the one thing I'm probably looking forward to that more than anything else is how Tristan's going to look at that left tackle spot. Now, he's played it before. He did it in Iowa when he was there at the University of Iowa. But here's the thing. This is his first time doing it in the NFL. The game is faster in the NFL. And you're protecting the blind side now. That's going to be the key. And don't be shocked if Wirfs kind of struggles a little bit at the beginning. It's understandable because he's moving over to a different position. It's going to be, on your left side now. You got to go this, like this, instead of this. You go this. And a lot of times, the majority of great defensive ends play on that blind spot. So Wirfs is going to have a lot more challenges there. And I'm very interested to see how he does next week. I expect him to play next week, by the way, too. And the Jets have a good defense. So I want to see this matchup. I want to see him play this left tackle position. Now, I'm not going to judge it on how good or how bad he does. Again, because this will be his first game there. It's going to take some time. In my opinion, it's going to take a little time. Don't panic. Try not to panic. I shouldn't say don't panic. Try not to panic if Wirfs starts out slow, at that position. I don't think he's going to play bad at all there. But it's going to be a timing thing. And he's got to get used to that. So that's the position I'm looking forward to next week. The one guy I'm looking to see play well at his spot, his new position, Tristan Wirfs. So, yeah, and I'm also interested to see Ryan Jensen as well, get back after that devastating knee injury. And remember, he didn't even have surgery on it. He let it heal. And, he did play last year, obviously, in the playoff game, but he was nowhere near ready. So that's another guy that's going to be interesting to watch tonight or next week, getting him used to it. If he plays next week, I shouldn't say he will. I'm just assuming. I don't know for sure. But if he does play next week, I'm very interested to see how Ryan Jensen does. It's going to be his first game back, because let's face it, that playoff game against Dallas, he just wasn't the same. I mean, he just, to me, he wasn't ready. And I get it. They wanted him back badly. They wanted that experience out there against Dallas in that playoff game. But to me, the real first game for Tristan Wirfs is going to be next week. Not Tristan Wirfs, Ryan Jensen. So I want to see how assuming that he plays. I'm just assuming. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Got some comments in here. Fred Swayze Moore, thank you for tuning in tonight, man. Appreciate it. He says, good to see 27 get a pick. Yeah, Zion McCollum, and Fred, this is a big year for Zion. Again, like I said a little bit earlier on, that he sort of struggled last year. He did play on some special teams, did okay there, but whenever he got a chance, he got eaten up pretty good. And At the beginning of the game, he kind of was, you know, getting eaten up a little bit. He got a touchdown scored on him early on, but he bounced back nicely. He got an interception, made a great play on the ball, um, and then for the rest of the game, whenever he was in there, he was able to cover his receivers pretty well. So, um, something like that, getting an interception was that's a big confidence booster. Anytime you make a great play like he did, that's definitely going to boost your confidence. So, and I think you saw that after that interception, he played a lot better. He stuck to his receiver. Uh, didn't give him much separation. So it was good to see that. Now he's got to put that together, and we'll see what he can do next week because he will get some more playing time. But yeah, I expect Zion to play well this year. I really do. I expect him to play a lot better. So yeah, I was impressed overall tonight by him. Alex Schomburg, thanks for tuning in. He said, "Did Jey Uso leave the WWE?" I don't know. I didn't see, but this is we could talk about anything. So let's have it. Let's have at it. So yeah, I didn't know. Did he leave WWE? Was that on SmackDown tonight? Yeah, let me know. And that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the preseason. Again, this isn't about wins or losses, but if you want to know what the score was, it was Pittsburgh 27, Tampa 17. My overall thoughts tonight, it's, from the offensive side of the ball, not bad. Defensively, it's pretty good. Like I said, the linebackers, KJ Britt, Cam Gill, played pretty well. They're going to be reserves on the team. I want to mention real quick, too, that when Najee Harris was in the game, the first offensive possession of the game for Pittsburgh, Anthony Nelson played, and I thought he made a very good open field tackle on Najee Harris, because Najee could have broke for a big run there, but Anthony Davis, stood his ground, good footwork, didn't over pursue, and he was able to make the tackle on Harris where he only gained like maybe a couple yards. It could have been like a 10, 15-yard gain, but Anthony Nelson, was able to make that stop, dug his foot in the ground, was able to tackle Harris, didn't give him that big gain. So that impressed me pretty well. That really impressed me tonight because there's some talk about Anthony Nelson not being a great open field tackler. But that play right there showed that, he can be capable of doing that. And, again, we got to see more of it. But I thought, to me, that impressed me tonight. That and the McCollum interception was really good. And the Trey Palmer touchdown that Baker Mayfield threw to him in the end zone. He was able to keep his feet in there. Just a great play. Just a great play there. So, yeah, I was impressed by those plays and players tonight. Let's see here. Alex Schomburg. Yeah, he said, "I'm out of the bloodline. I'm out of SmackDown. I'm out of WWE after he super kicked Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso." Okay. Yeah. Yeah, SmackDown. That's interesting. We'll see what they do there. I mean, just reading that comment, I'm thinking that they're probably going to do like a kind of like a Jey Uso coming in every once in a while, like maybe attacking Roman, Jimmy, make him like kind of like an outsider, like kind of, coming out of nowhere, sneaking up every week or every other week, kind of like a, watch your back kind of thing. I'm assuming that's what they're going to do with Jey Uso. But I don't know. We'll see what happens there. It should be very interesting there. So, yeah. Like I said, have at it. We talk about anything, football, sports, entertainment, pro wrestling. That's what we do here. And for people that are new to have at it now, this is a Let's Buck with Ben kind of show as well. I posted this on Bucks Levante David, but um, I do have a show called Have At It here every Friday night. We talk about anything. Uh, whatever you want to talk about. Obviously, you know, if it's like politics or religion, then no. But anything else is, never off limits. We just talk about it. I put in the StreamYard. Like if anybody wants to come on, talk with me, that's great. I'm welcome to have guests on anytime. So yeah, that's what it's about. So that's what Have At It is. But again, we're mixing that tonight with a little Let's Buck with Ben because we had a Bucks game tonight, and I want to talk about some Bucks football. So, and even some NFL football as well. Uh, there were some games last night too. You had the Seahawks and the Vikings, Patriots and Texans. Obviously, with the Texans, you saw that C.J. Stroud made his NFL debut. Real quick on C.J. Stroud, he played like he was nervous the whole time out there. Had an interception. Uh, made a couple plays, decent plays here and there, but he wasn't. But this is his first NFL game, so that's going to happen. I think with the Texans, the best thing they can do right now is probably start, Davis Mills, have him start the season, and if Texans kind of out of it at that point, which they might be, then maybe put Stroud in, after their bye week, whenever their bye week is. Now I get there's some people that think that Stroud needs to start right away because he was the number 2 overall pick, and that the fan base needs him to start. My personal opinion, and it's not just C.J. Stroud, but it's really these top quarterbacks that get picked at the top 5 or 10. It's just always good to sit. It'd be nice just to sit and learn, not be forced in there right away. Because man, we've seen it with a lot of quarterbacks that have been drafted in the top 5 that didn't turn out very well. For the Bucks, look at Jameis Winston. I mean, hell, he got put in there from day one, and he was the number 1 overall pick in 2015. And we know how that went. He had some good moments, but it just ultimately didn't pan out here in Tampa. So, and then unless you're the last quarterback, I would say that was drafted number 1 overall or was drafted in the top 4 or 5 that played well right away, right when he first started, was Andrew Luck. He was the most pro-ready quarterback coming out of the draft. But as we all know, that Andrew Luck is retired. He retired because he didn't have an offensive line, with the Colts. He got beat up, and that's another thing. That's what worries me about this offensive line with the Bucks. While I think it has the potential of being pretty good, there is some concerns I got, especially with the right tackle position, Luke Goedeke. I know a lot of people are picking on him, but if you saw him tonight and seen him play, several snaps there, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to watch. Hopefully he can improve. But he's got to do it. He's expected to start there. And, again, there's not too much depth there with the offensive line. So it's very important for him to, these next couple weeks in preseason to really start improving, a little bit, have some confidence going into, Minnesota week 1. That's going to be the key for Mr. Goedeke and the rest of that offensive line. Cody Mock, our rookie right tackle, out of North Dakota State. He's going to be, there's pressure on him already. I thought he played decent, but he had a holding call. He had a holding penalty, which, again, he's a rookie. You're going to expect that. So it's going to be a very interesting year for this Bucks team with this kind of makeshift offensive line. Again, you have Wirfs, you have Jensen as your two veterans that have been there. Mock and Gadecki. For them, it's this is kind of new to them. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this line, does, especially these first few weeks, because you think about the schedule they got. They're going to Minnesota. It's not a primetime game, so Kirk Cousins usually does well in non-primetime games. Then you're going to play Chicago. Excuse me. So you got Justin Fields you got to deal with. You got Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields. As far as the defenses, you got Vikings have a solid defense. The Bears are supposed to be improved defensively. They got Tremaine Edmonds, the linebacker from Buffalo this offseason. Then you got to play the Eagles on Monday night. Their defense is really good. So those first three games are going to be very interesting for the Bucs to see how this line does. Not going to be easy. Then you got to play the Saints in New Orleans week 4. Cam Jordan's back. So, yeah, and that's going to be interesting to see Tristan Wirfs against Cam Jordan. That'll be interesting. I can't wait to see that matchup. Hopefully, Tristan Wirfs can hold his own. But yeah, these first 4 games, then we got an early bye week in week 5. That's going to be interesting as well. I'm not the biggest fan of early bye weeks, but you kind of want them. Me personally, I kind of want the bye weeks between week 7 to week 10. In that range, because it's kind of like right in the middle. Whether you're doing good or doing bad, or you want to have that bye week kind of in that middle slot of the schedule, but we're one of the first teams to have a bye week. So yeah, week 4, it could be good or bad for the team, depending on how they do. That's another thing. If, let's say, Baker Mayfield doesn't play well, you wonder, okay, this Bucs team goes 1-3, 0-4, whatever. We hope not, but at the same time, it's possible. You're facing at least 2 of those first 3 teams that were playing, Minnesota and Philly. They were playoff teams last year, and it's going to be tough, and especially if Baker doesn't get that offensive line help he needs right away, or if Baker struggles and turns the ball over. You wonder after week 4 or in week 5 when we have the bye week going into week 6, could there be changes? Who knows? So right now, we got to see what this team can do. Next week will be a good indicator. Maybe not a great indicator, but a good indicator of what this team's going to look like this year. And another thing, the offense is learning a new playbook. This is not the Byron Leftwich unimaginative, play calling here. This is Dave Canales. We're going to balance, the run and the pass. Have the run set up the pass. And we're going to do some rollouts with Baker Mayfield, some play action, which he's good at. So it is going to be a different kind of offense. And the line's going to have to get used to that too. Another thing, with this new offensive line, or the new offense, I should say. The guys like Tristan Wirfs, Ryan Jensen are going to be, expected to, have to tackle for more than a few seconds. They don't have Tom Brady, snapping the ball like quickly. Baker's going to be, running around quite a bit. So they got to keep up with, Baker Mayfield. They got to maybe have to protect him a little bit longer than they should. So it's going to be a test for this offensive line, And again, with the new style of offense, you had some illegal illegal procedure penalties tonight. You had a few of those. You had some holding calls. So it's going to take time, and I expect more of these holding penalties, these illegal shifts kind of penalties, because again, it's a new playbook. They're going to learn. These guys are going to have to learn the playbook. But we'll see what happens. I'm excited about it in a way because it is going to be different. The one thing we didn't have last year, I felt, was we just kept throwing the ball too much, and we didn't utilize the run game enough. We need balance on offense. So in a way, I'm encouraged that first drive we saw, we had 3 straight runs. Now, do I expect that every game? No. Should we see that every game? No. But you want to set up the run for the pass, is what I'm trying to say. I thought last year we threw the ball too much on first down. We made some plays, we made some first downs on them, but with this kind of offense, you need to play to your quarterback strengths with Mayfield. He's not a pocket passer. He's going to roll out. He's going to make plays on his feet most of the time. And in a way, it's kind of like what Jameis did. Jameis was not a great pocket passer. He was better, on the run, outside the pocket. But again, that's where the turnovers happen. So, and Baker sometimes will have that Jameis mentality, where he is going to try to make those spectacular plays. Like tonight, it worked tonight. That play off his feet, that throw to Trey Palmer in the end zone, where Palmer made that great catch to keep his feet in bounds. That was a great play. Those are some spectacular plays, and they work at times. But then at other times, they bite you in the ass. They can end up in interceptions or the ball being stripped out of your hands, for a fumble. And we also got to remember, Pittsburgh didn't play their ones tonight defensively. They didn't play their starters. So next week's going to be a kind of a test of what both Baker and Kyle Trask can do offensively, because you'll see more starters play. And that's where you're going to get a good idea of what to expect during the regular season. So with that being said, those are my thoughts on tonight's game. Right now there's another game going on, the Cardinals and Broncos. And Bucs fans, that Sean Payton's now the head coach of Denver. Russell Wilson did start tonight, which kind of surprised me. I didn't expect that. I thought maybe Russell would play the next week, but they went ahead and threw Russ right in there. So it'll be interesting to see how Sean Payton and Russell Wilson do together. They'll probably be better, but I don't expect them to be. If they make the playoffs, they'd probably be one and done. But we'll see. And with Arizona, they got their new coach. I think it's Jonathan Gannon. He was the Eagles' offensive coordinator last year. So we'll see how that works. He's replacing Cliff Kingsbury. And again, Kyler Murray is still injured, so he's not expected to start the season. Arizona's looking like a rebuild project. So we'll see what happens there. Tomorrow, the Jets, who we play next week, they're going to be playing Carolina. That'll be interesting to see there. I'm going to try and watch some of that game, obviously, because we're going to play the Jets next week. The Bucs do. And also Carolina's in our division. And they got a new quarterback. His name's Bryce Young. He was the number 1 overall pick after Carolina traded up with the Bears to pick him. So, yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see. I want to see how he does. We're going to see him twice a year. So, yeah, this is going to be that'll be an interesting game to watch. That one I am going to watch tomorrow. And then I live here in Las Vegas, so the Raiders play Sunday here at home against the 49ers. That'll be interesting to see. Hold on a sec. And every Friday, or on Have At It, if you watch my show, I always have a beer in hand. Gotta have one of those. But anyway, yeah, so the Raiders going to be interesting this year because they got the Niners' former quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, they're saying that Jimmy's not going to play, but Brian Hoyer will start. The Niners, that's interesting as well. Trey Lance is going to start for San Francisco. Brock Purdy's not going to play. So I'm going to watch that game as well. And I believe the Saints and Chiefs play on Sunday as well in New Orleans. I don't know if Derek Carr is going to play or not. They said Mahomes might play one series. Okay, so got to see how the Saints do. I know the Falcons tonight played Miami. They beat them 19-3, I believe. I know I'm rattling off, Falcons, Saints, Panthers, because it's in our division. We got to see what they're doing. I'm curious to see how they're going to do. So it's a little homework, a little scouting for you. So yeah. But yeah, the Jets and Panthers, that's a 4 p.m. Eastern start. I believe that game is on NFL Network, so I am definitely going to watch. Well, I have NFL Plus anyway, so I'll see it anyway. But yeah, but if I want to see how the Jets do, and Carolina for that matter. Fred Swayze Moore. Thanks again, Fred, for commenting. He says 10-7 this year, too much talent to be ranked 31, seen a lot of bad Bucs teams, and this one isn't one of them. Yeah, on paper, Fred, defensively, we still got the core from our Super Bowl. You think about that. You got Vita Vea, Devin White, Levante David, Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield. So you got Shaq Barrett. So you got 7 starters still from that Super Bowl team. On paper, this defense should be a top 10 defense for sure. Maybe even a top 5. But my concern would be the offense. Again, we know Evans and Godwin are great. They're going to bring it. We got to see how Rachaad White does now that he's going to be the lead back. Now that Leonard Fournette left, we got to see how Cade Otton does his sophomore year. He had a solid year last year, but now it's his sophomore year. We got to see how he does as well. And that offensive line, like I mentioned earlier, it's a different look. No more Donovan Smith at left tackle. Tristan Wirfs takes over that spot. No more Tristan Wirfs at right tackle. Luke Goedeke projectively is going to take over that spot. Ryan Jensen. How's he going to do after that devastating knee injury? It's going to take some time. And like I said, these first 3-4 weeks, the Vikings, Bears, Eagles Monday night, the Saints on a short week. That's going to be a test for this offensive line. Now we know Wirfs and Jensen have, they're the veterans. They've been there. They played on that Super Bowl team. So, but the other guys really haven't. We got to see what they can do. And that's my biggest concern. If that offensive line can put it together and, go on a run toward the end of the year, I think 10-7 is a possibility. But right now, if I had to play the guessing game, I would probably have to say that an 8-9, 9-8 record would probably be more realistic. But again, the potential is 10-7. I mean, I don't doubt it. I think they can, especially defensively, with the starters, that have been there for the past few years. And don't forget, if Elijah Cansey can, get it going. I know he had the injury that's going to keep him out of preseason, but if he can get it going, Yaya Diaby can get it going, who I'm really excited about at linebacker. If they just play pretty good, this defense can, maybe not shut out teams, but they can certainly keep them under 13 points a game, and it'll definitely give us a chance, our offense a chance in every football game. That's what I want with this team, just a chance. If our defense can give us a chance every game, I think we'll be fine. 10-7 is not impossible, but it's going to be up to the offense, to see how this, clicks, because after that bye week, I believe we only have like 6 home games and 7 road games. So that's going to be tough. We're going to be playing teams like the Niners and the Bills on the road. Those are very tough games. We're going to have the Jaguars, I think, on Christmas Eve. So yeah, I mean, we got to see how the division teams do. The Saints, Panthers, Falcons, have they improved? So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year. The Lions, we'll see how they do. They're very talented. So, and that's the throwback game, by the way, the creamsicle game against Detroit. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait to wear my Doug Williams number 12 jersey. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. So yeah, I mean, this is defensively, we can be 10-7, but offensively, I have to wait and see. This is a wait and see game with me. The quarterback has to play well. Baker Mayfield has to not turn the ball over, manage the game good, and get Mike Evans more involved, especially in the red zone. We got to use Mike Evans to his strengths. And I felt last year we just didn't do that as much. So, and that's with Tom Brady. So we got to be able to use Mike Evans more. He'll demand some double teams. I expect that. He's a great receiver. No doubt about it. This is where guys like, Chris Godwin or Russell Gage, even like a Devin Tompkins, if he can come in there and make the team and contribute, hell, I mean, this offense can do something. So right now I'm more confident in the defense than I am in the offense. That's just me. More it's about 60-40 for me, defense to offense, as far as confidence goes. Fred says Byron going to get us 2 more wins. Oh, you mean like Byron Leftwich not being there gets us 2 more wins automatically? I can't argue with that. By the way, I'm just curious, what the hell is Byron doing these days? He didn't even get offered an NFL job. He was that bad. Yeah, I'm glad he's not there anymore. I mean, his play calling was just not very good. And, he came over with Bruce Arians. He brought him in. And I get it, because Byron was with Bruce Arians. They were in Pittsburgh together. Leftwich was backing up Ben Roethlisberger. And Bruce Arians was the offensive coordinator when Byron was there. So I get it. I get that relationship. But I just never saw it. I never saw anything special in Byron. He's just not creative with his play calling. And I just don't think he was ready yet. And, Bruce Arians, I understand. He wanted to give the guy a chance. And it's still hard to believe that Byron Leftwich was offered a head coaching job with the Jaguars. Even the Jaguars turned him down. So maybe they were smart enough to see something in him, and excuse me. And, they brought in Doug Peterson, which was a very smart move. It looks like a smart move now because they made the playoffs, and Trevor Lawrence really improved his mechanics as a quarterback. So yeah, Jacksonville was smart not to hire him. And I don't mean to keep piling it up on Byron Leftwich, poor guy, but he just was not imaginative enough. And yeah, just I'm glad we got a new coordinator now. Um, but we got to give Dave Canales a chance. This offensive scheme of Canales, you got to give it some time. I know people think, oh, the offense didn't play well tonight, but it's the first game. It's preseason. Um, Hold on one second, guys. I am sorry. My cat wants to get out of my room, so give me 1 second. All right, and then we're back now. Sorry about that. Just want to apologize. That if you heard my cat, he was meowing to get him out of my room because he had to go to the bathroom. So, yeah, anything can happen live on the Ben Zone, on Have At It, and all my other shows. So, yeah. Right now, I got the NFL Network on. It's 7-0 Broncos over the Cardinals. I think that's the last game Giants and Lions played earlier on. Oh my. I think the Lions won 21-19, so I'll probably watch some highlights of that as well. I'm a Bucks fan, but I'm also an NFL fan. I'm also a college football fan. So I'm excited with college football coming up. That's another thing, all this realignment, the Pac-12 is pretty much the Pac-4 now. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, we had Arizona State, Utah, they're going to the Big 12. Colorado's going to the Big 12. Oregon and Washington's going to the Big 10. And yeah, it's just a nightmare for the Pac-12. I'm a Florida State fan, and there's talk about Florida State wanting to leave because the money in the ACC is not. They're not bringing as much revenue as the SEC and the Big 10. And Florida State feels like they deserve some of that, money as well. And they want to try and get out of there. But, it's just a crazy time in college football. With all this realignment. It's crazy. I'm kind of old school. I like my conferences to be, to have a Power 5, but it's not shocking. I mean, you look around, if you'd have looked at it a couple years ago, you kind of seen it coming, like Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC. Last year, UCLA and USC announced they're going to the Big 10. So it's just a domino effect that's happening in college football, and it affects, college basketball as well. What's going to happen there? This doesn't just affect football. This affects all sports. The NCAA, basketball, baseball. Crazy. I mean, not this college football season, but next college football season, 2024 is going to look really, really different. And you're going to see teams going up against each other you haven't seen before. Like USC is going to go to like Iowa, I think, or UCLA is going to go to Iowa. What if that game's in like November or December, where October or November, like when it's snowing? Teams like UCLA, USC, they don't play in snow. So it's going to be really different to see how that's going to affect these teams, because you're going to have guys that are, sophomores and juniors now. If they play their senior year next year, They might be playing in cold weather for the first time. So that's going to be very interesting to see how they adjust. And, I just can't. It's crazy to think that USC and UCLA is going to be playing in the Big Ten. Isn't it? It's going to be crazy, right? Like, it's going to be crazy to see Texas and Oklahoma play in the SEC, or Arizona State and Utah playing in the Big 12. Now, you're saying, well, what about Colorado? Well, Colorado was in the Big 12. Then they went to the Pac 12. Now they're going back to the Big 12. So that's not unfamiliar. But you're going to get matchups like Arizona and against Oklahoma. I'm sorry, not Oklahoma. Like Arizona and Baylor. Arizona State and Texas Tech. That's going to be crazy. It really is. So the college football landscape is going to be totally different after 2023. And it's going to be different for, college basketball, men and women's basketball. So, yeah, it's going to be crazy. Like, I just heard like Stanford and Cal, they're talking to the ACC about going to the ACC. And it was recently reported that the ACC was hesitant to vote them in. So, but what if Stanford and Cal do get in the ACC? They're going to be playing teams like Louisville and Duke and Wake Forest. I mean, that's crazy. It really is. And I don't know, man. But I'm going to enjoy this college football season. Excuse me, because it's really going to be the last season where you're going to see teams like, UCLA go up against Arizona, or USC goes up against Oregon or Washington. Well, actually not, because they're all in the Big Ten. But I'm saying like a USC and Utah. That's became quite a rivalry in the Pac-12 the last few years, and Utah's had USC's number, both in the regular season and in the conference championship games. So you're not going to see USC or Utah play each other anymore. So that's going to be crazy. Like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Yeah, Oklahoma State. Are they going to have the Bedlam game still? Because Oklahoma's going to the SEC and Oklahoma State's staying in the Big 12. So it's going to be very different. And I'm excited, but like at the same time, I'm like, man, this isn't your, I'm 43 years old, and this isn't your 20-year-old Ben's college football anymore. So, this is going to be a very, almost like a culture shock to see all these teams go into different conferences. But in a way, it's kind of exciting because the matchups you're going to see, like a USC against a Michigan, or a UCLA against an Iowa or a Nebraska, or a USC against an Ohio State or a Penn State, or a Washington against a Penn State or a Michigan. So those are, it's kind of like, what? But at the same time, it's like, this will be interesting, And then they're going to have the 12-team playoff. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how college football is going to work in 2024. So, it's going to be weird, but I'm kind of a fan of weird. So, yeah, that's just me. So, yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take off for the night. But, man, I want to thank everyone who watched tonight. I appreciate you guys coming on and watching. This is fun, a little bit different tonight. Again, I wanted to remix it a little bit, kind of blend in two shows into one because we had the Tampa Bay Bucks play tonight, and I wanted to talk about the game against the Steelers. My thoughts were on the first preseason game, who I think stood out, who I think didn't. But next week should be a very different approach here because you're going to have more starters play. So you're going to kind of get an idea of a little glimpse of what you're going to see in the regular season. So I am excited about that. We're playing the Jets next week. The Bucks are. We're going to have scrimmages with them, and then we play them next Saturday night, a week from tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern in MetLife Stadium at the Jets place. Well, the Jets and Giants place, but next week it'll be the Jets home. So, and we will probably be on, like I said earlier, we might be on Hard Knocks because the Jets are on Hard Knocks this year. So we might see the Bucks, see some, footage of the Bucks scrimmaging with them and some game highlights. So we'll probably be on Hard Knocks. So that'll be interesting too. So yeah, with that being said, everybody, like I said, subscribe, and share this. Have at it. Let's Buck with Ben. I have a wrestling show called Face the Heels every Monday night, but we're probably going to move that show to maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday because we got the NFL season coming up and I want to watch Monday Night Football. So we'll do that too. But those are my social media handles right there. Please follow, and subscribe. And with that being said, I am going to take off. I want everybody to have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and we will be back next week here on Have At It. It'll be just a Have At It. And then I'll do a Let's Buck with Ben probably next weekend as well. So stay tuned for that. I'll give you all the details. But anyway, I am out. Everybody have a good weekend, and I will see you next time. Take care.